It was 5 chains on my neck. It was no smut on my rap. Last time that I checked, I was selling in the set. Make a $250,000, no sweat. Last time that I checked, I'm the streets voice out west. Legendary self-made progress. Last time that I checked.
This is John, Violinist on Mystery Girl Radio by Mystery Girl.
Hey guys, this is Mystery Girl. You're tuned in to Shut Up and Listen. I'm here with my co-host, DJ Enigma.
What's up?
And I have a special guest in the building. I told you guys to stick around. I told you it was going to be interesting, different. All right, we like different here. So John, violinist.
Yes,
yes. Welcome. I'm glad to have you in. I checked out. Well, you had like sent a message, and I was like, who is this? And I went on your page, and I was like, oh, he's fire. Like I like what he's doing. So John, violinist. That's what you go by.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And if you guys haven't figured it out at this point, he plays the violin. So I was like, okay, I have to have him in and do a live, show here. But before we do that, just want to get to know you a little bit and, how you started playing the violin and stuff like that. So I read your bio a little bit, and you started playing when you were 5?
Yeah, so I started playing when I was 5. Sad story, I was actually forced to play the violin.
Oh.
My parents tricked me. They were like, hey, you want to play an instrument? I was like, yeah. So they gave me, they brought me down to University of Hartford in front of this huge table. And pick an instrument, and I was like, I picked that one. I didn't even know what it was called. Right. Like, okay, violin, that's what that is. I was like, sure, it looks cool. And so then they ended up bringing me to University of Hartford to study under the UHart program. And I started playing, and it was cool at first. I was like, oh, I like this. This is fun. Then I started seeing my friends play outside, and I was like, listen, let me go outside. I don't want to do this. It was like, no, you wanted to pick that instrument. You're going to play this all the way up until high school. Right. Oh, that's funny. So they made you so you got to pick though which one, which instrument you wanted to do. But I wanted to switch so many times. Yeah. I was like drums, guitar, anything but this now. That's funny. I'm done. And they wanted you, and they were like, no, you got to stick with it now. Yeah. Yeah. And you were probably like, oh man, but now I bet you're happy about it, right? Oh yeah. It started hitting me freshman year of college. Before that, I was playing classical, which I love classical music. Right. But I was put into this box because it was mostly, Vivaldi, Beethoven, Bach, 24/7. And mind you, the program we used, the method was called Suzuki, and you'd listen to things on repeat. You learn by ear, which was helpful, but they make you listen to the song over and over. That can be daunting. Yeah. And then I'd end up in the middle of the night like, oh my God. I hear Vivaldi at 3 a.m. and I just couldn't get away from it. So college is when it started, I could do my own thing with it, and I started experimenting more. Right. Okay, so you were classically trained, which is dope, and Beethoven, all that stuff. I mean, I'm not too crazy familiar with but I was reading up on that, and that was what you were starting with. And then so what made you do the switch or wander off into the hip hop R&B realm with it? So when I was in college, my roommate actually Rennie, shout out to Rennie, he was a producer, and he had in his dorm, he had a whole little setup with the mic and all this stuff and the MIDI, and he would just record and do the auto-tune on his voice and start singing. And I went over to his room, and I was like, hey, man, I see you doing this recording thing. He's like, yeah, man, this is what I do. I enjoy it. He was also a music major. That's awesome. That's perfect. And then I was like, let me throw my violin on top of it. And he's like, that'd be so cool. So we made a little song, and I threw my violin on top of it. And that was the first time I actually recorded my violin. And then he ended up getting real busy, and then he moved out, and I was like, man, I really wish I could do this on my own. Yeah. So then I just started recording and listening to music and just kind of fooling around with it. Yeah. And then I had a talent show at Central, and I was like, I don't want to do this. He's like, people were telling me, yeah, go ahead, go do this talent show. And I was like, all right, I'll do the talent show. And then I just did T.I. and Rihanna, Live Your Life. Oh, that's a good one. And then I remember this one dude in the front just screaming. He's like, you better kill this song. And I was like, whoa, okay. So then I did it, performed, and people just loved it. And I ended up getting a gift card for first place. It was $100. And, nice. For college students, that's a lot for college. Yeah. That's everything. Even now,
100 ramen.
After college, I'm like, let me get $100. So that's how that ended up.
Oh, that's dope. I was gonna say, I know they had to go nuts for that. I would have went nuts if I saw a violinist up there playing to that song. But I love that. I mean, we were just talking about ghetto guitar and how you guys have a history, kind of, you know, starting off together in a way, right?
Yeah. So it's funny. Ghetto guitar. We actually met in college.
Yeah.
And he was just starting to play the guitar. He's like, I'm just gonna do this guitar thing, and I'm gonna go full speed with it.
Right.
And I was like, and I was playing the violin, and I was like, do it, man. And he just, you know, ended up going full speed, and he just took it to a whole new level.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's my boy right there.
Yeah, no, that's dope. And I bring that up because instruments like strings, you know, I had him in here because I was like, I want more of this, you know, the live instruments. And I think it's important to bring that back and incorporate it into today's music. So, I mean, from your standpoint, I mean, what do you know, how do you feel about hip hop, today's music, and what you're adding to it, you know, bringing that classical like violin instrument back into stuff?
Well, kind of going off what you said, like, it's like a dying, you know, you don't find a lot of musicians nowadays, especially up this area. More so, you know, you'll find some more down south.
Yeah.
But promoting it the way, you know, they could be,
right.
You don't really see too much of that. It's funny, my uncle is actually a music professor. It runs in kind of my blood. Mm-hmm. He's a music professor for head of the program for Howard University.
Okay.
So he was trying to get me down there, but he ended up trying to get me down there junior year of college. So I kind of was like, I'm already going to graduate here. But he was talking about it too, and my cousins also play strings.
Okay.
And he was just talking about how, you know, it really is like last of a dying breed. So I think it's important to see live music and live people that do live music get appreciated, and you're starting to see it come up a little bit more. Yeah,
for sure.
Which I think is really dope.
I think it's making a little bit of a comeback here.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lost art.
Yeah.
So how many years have you been doing the hip hop part of it?
So I started in college. So around 2010, 11, I started doing it. Mm-hmm. Then I kind of died down a little bit. And then I started about 2 years ago actually bringing it back because I ended up getting really busy, and now I have a lot more time on my hands. And I was like, you know what? Let me kind of bring this back a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. And I like what you're doing with it. You seem to get a lot of love on social media. I was going through your Instagram, and I love the songs you pick. And I think the most recent one you did was a Nipsey Hussle song, and that one had crazy views on it, right? It was like 20,000, over 20,000 like views that one got, or something like that, right?
Yeah. So that did the last time that I checked. Saw Nipsey Hussle. And it was funny how that one happened. It's always funny how I record. So I record in my own house,
right? And
I always do it. I have 2 kids, so I wait till they go to sleep, and then I just pulled out, you know, music during the night. Mm-hmm. And so I was actually like, you know, it just happened like a few days ago, and I was like, damn, Nipsey, just like, I can't believe like this happened. Like,
yeah, man, that was.
And it really hit me hard. It's funny because my brother-in-law actually reminds me of Nipsey. So every time I used to tell him, and he raps too, I was like, Nipsey Hussle. He didn't even really listen to him like that.
Right.
And so when that happened, it really played like it took a toll on me. And I was like, it's like almost seeing my brother-in-law in another kind of body.
Right.
So it was kind of heartbreaking. But I chose that song because, you know, I think it was a good representation of him.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good one.
And yeah, it did get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I mean, that was really, I really liked that, and what you did with it. That hit everybody crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, you know, shout out Nipsey. But it woke people up to a lot of things. So, you know, which is, I guess you could say a silver lining, if even is one in a situation like that. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, you're definitely making, you know, getting a momentum, and people like it. And, you know, we're saying, you know, guitars out there on tour. So
is this a direction you want to go in with your music? Like more hip hop, or just
I'm open
everything?
to a lot of different things.
Yeah.
It's funny with the violin, you know, it's so many different directions you could go with it. It's funny. I post because it's such a rare even form in Connecticut, and I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Because you know, I'm posting all hip hop and R&B,
Right.
and I get so many calls for weddings. And it's funny, I'm not posting any, you know, I haven't really
Anything else,
promoted any wedding styles. I've had multiple weddings within, like, already I'm booked for this whole summer with weddings.
That's nice. That's great, though.
So, you know, it's funny how that, you know, I'm like, wow, people ask me to do all types of styles at their weddings because it's just not a lot of violinists, at least not promoting themselves.
Yeah.
So,
And live instrument. There's a whole different vibe there.
Yeah.
So,
and you can be romantic as
Yeah,
well.
right.
At the same time.
Exactly.
So, and I, you know, give lessons on and off and things like that. So I'm kind of just, you know, letting it kind of do what it's doing and seeing kind of
So
what it goes.
I had stepped out for a second, but when I walked back in, you were talking about how this is the instrument you had to choose and stick with. Now that you don't have that kind of handcuff, have you branched out at all in other instruments?
Yeah, it's funny because when you're a music major, which I was at one point, did not want to continue it. I did not want to be a music teacher. But one of the core classes they have you do is learn how to play piano.
Right.
So the keys is like, that's like,
Fundamental music.
yeah, that's
the
like
heart of
the
it.
Godfather
Yeah.
instrument.
Right.
So in order to know any type of chord change, it
You
just
want
helps.
progression and everything.
It
comes
helps,
with the piano,
right,
yeah.
knowing how to play the piano. So that's the other instrument that I
Well, I
kinda
try to tell
dabble
that
with.
to a
That's
lot of
always
artists.
helpful.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna take this as entertainment, you're trying to be a rock star and just stand on a stage, then yeah, stick with one thing and do it. If you're trying to be a musician or a producer, play everything. You have to, like,
Right.
especially the piano. Piano's like the key to
Yeah,
music.
piano's
Like, there is
definitely key.
You're not gonna figure out, but just seeing the violin kind of, and it's something we're paying attention to. A lot of the instruments are coming back, but like that one seems to like get the most attention for its uniuniqueness from the separation of hip hop to how it's like so dope.
And then
it,
when
like,
you
works.
throw
It works
into
perfect.
hip hop, it
remember,
has this beautiful
Twista did
thing
it in
about
like
it.
2002 with that
yeah.
song and the girl.
Yeah, I
and she
remember
killed
that.
that song.
Yeah, that
But
was
it-
dope.
But then it kind of like fell back under,
Yeah.
and now it's starting, and it's really cool. It's dope. I love what you're doing.
There's this chick, what I Am Mappy.
Oh, yeah.
I follow her. Yeah, she does violin.
Yep, and there's also Ezzy. There's quite a few.
Oh
of them
yeah. There's a couple that I follow that are really dope.
that are really dope. Who's D Sharp? He's pretty dope. There's quite a bit of violin. It's awesome to see it because, like I said, you don't find it too often
Exactly.
being done.
Yeah.
But
it's like we talk about this with artists in Connecticut. It's like this whole like I want to be the first kind of mentality.
Yeah.
But now that when you get more and more, it brings more attention to you. So it's like a dope blessing. See all these people trying to do it, and now it's getting this attention. So like,
Yeah.
it's really sick. to
Yeah,
see.
I was like, I gotta bring him in here for sure because we don't have anything like that really in Connecticut. You know, it's like violinist and CT, like get him in. Let's
well,
get him
the
in.
funny thing is, there's actually a lot of people that I used to work at a school, and violin is a very commonly taught instrument in the school system.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
It's just that the kids, you know, they start playing it
Well,
in, here in middle school or whatever, elementary school, and then it's like, oh yeah, I used to play the violin. You don't know how many people are running to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I used to play the violin in middle school, or I used to play. I used to play it in elementary school.
Used to play.
Right. And then it's just like, oh, it's just, you know, recommended. It's almost like the recorder.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you pick that up in elementary school. But just like people just, you know, they don't want to.
Well, there's no one to like
Stick
emulate.
with it.
There's no one
Right.
to look up to.
Exactly.
So you're like, I'm not playing that. I'm gonna go play the guitar. Or I'm gonna go sing or
Right,
something.
and
But
at least
Right.
with jazz, like saxophones, and
Right.
you have, you know, Dizzy Gillespie, and you can look
so
up to.
much
and you
music
have,
there.
Yeah.
You know, you have a
They're-
lot of people you can kind of look at and say, okay,
I mean,
he
I
looks
really-
like me.
Yeah, exactly.
We're seeing, you know,
I see that
Mozart.
movement coming. That movement's coming for sure. Where it's
I
gonna be an
think so.
independent artist
Right.
that's gonna like create music and sing
think
and do
so.
the whole thing with it.
Yeah, I
so.
mean, hopefully we'll see you like
Right.
making some moves out here with it. I saw you open up for a couple people, little Durk and Juice World. Is that right? Yeah.
So I did.
Yeah. So
And it was pretty crazy.
I bet.
Yeah, the energy was really.
How did that come about? They come across you.
Yeah, so they came across me,
That's dope.
and we ended up connecting, and we ended up putting those pieces together. And it's always interesting when you perform live with a violin because people are trying to get your sound right, and it takes like forever. Like, mind you, with the Juice WRLD concert, I didn't even have a monitor
Nothing.
really facing me,
Just
so
you?
I couldn't even
I like
Barely
hear,
hear myself. But
Oh,
I
that's
just look at the
the
reaction of the
worst.
crowd, and you just
Right.
kind of go with that. so.
Yeah.
That's dope.
But yeah, it's always like people trying to figure out how to really set up the sound. For a
Yeah, what to
violin.
do, yeah.
Even with recording, I rather record myself a lot of times, just because a lot of people, they just never have recorded a violinist,
Right,
Especially since I have an
exactly.
electric violin.
Right.
So people are just like, "This is so cool," but
What do I
don't
do?
know what I'm doing.
What do I do with this?
How
Yeah.
to mix it.
Right. So
Well, hopefully, I was
get
going
it
to say
right?
they got to get it right, but I was like, hopefully we get it right. Hopefully we got you sounding good
No
because you are
pressure,
going to
no
play for
pressure.
us. I know, no pressure. Yeah, so, and, speaking of the Nipsey Hussle, that's one of the songs you're going to do last time I checked, Nipsey Hussle. And then you also sent over Girls Need Love, which I'm excited about because I love that song, so I can't wait to hear you do that. So before we do that, we'll get you set up. We're going to play some music. But is there anything you want to make sure people know about you? Anything I didn't ask you that you want to make sure people know, or how to find you? Or
yeah, so you could find me at John Violinist, JohnViolinist.
Okay.
That's on Instagram, and I may be the quote-unquote first, but don't make me the last in Connecticut. So if you have children that play the violin, encourage them to continue to do that.
Speaking of children, we have your son, and he's making a little debut.
He plays violin too. He's starting. So
Does
we
he?
actually, I'll show you this picture.
All right, we got the
Yeah.
little superstar in here. I love him. He's adorable. So maybe we'll have him on the show then once he gets himself all together.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, so we have a John Violinist
It's
in
actually
here.
my son right here.
What's your son's name, by the way?
Say your name, bud.
Yeah. What is it?
Liam.
Liam. Hi, Liam. All right. Liam's on the radio. You're on the radio right now, Liam. How do you feel? All right, so we got John Violinist and Liam in the building. We're going to have him do a live performance with his violin in a little bit. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We will be back.